Nkonki has the professional capacity to deliver on your external and internal audit assurance requirements. Visit nkonki.com for more.
Welcome back. Mervyn King are now talking about the critical issues in business strategy today with our expert guests, Colin Brayshaw and Nick Holland. Now, the modern way of running a business in the 21st century is to not only focus on financial capital, but to look at all the capitals that are crucial to that company, what it uses, and going forward. In terms of strategy, Colin, how does a board bring in all these other capitals into its strategy?
One of the most important, parts of your capital in a company is in fact your human resource, because it's extremely important to a company to make certain you have the right people at the top and then good people escalating all the way down. So I mean, human capital must be one of the very important capitals that most companies require, and it's very important for the board to make certain that you have got, good human capital.
And some of the other capitals that are important, especially in the mining industry, I would say, in natural capital and social and relationship capital.
Well, absolutely. When we look at new projects that we may want to build around the world, we actually decided that in terms of power input, we would set a benchmark of no less than 20% renewable energy would be part of the source of energy into the new plant or the new mine site that we construct. And it's very difficult to go back and retrofit what you have, but going forward you should be able to do that. So that's one example where we've actually integrated the whole project plan into the needs of society around us. Another one is water. When you build mines in areas in South America, as we have done, you find that water is a critical issue for communities. So how can we interact with the communities around us to make sure that we can source our own water and at the same time either protect or enhance their water? And that's been tremendously beneficial for us in creating value in and around our mine sites.
And you do that because it's in your business interests to look after these sorts of capitals, isn't it?
Well, it is. And if you go back 20 years when mines were built, you'd build a mine in an area, you'd have scant regard or no regard for communities around you. One day the communities arrived at the mine gate and said they want to talk to the general manager and complain about everything that's happened over the last 20 years. Whereas now we actually consult with them up front because we see them as a critical stakeholder. We cannot operate our business without them. There's a lot of benefits that we can glean from them. We can actually get labor, we can get local supplies. So we are integrated now in the way we run the business. So that's why I think we learnt a lot in writing these integrated reports, because we realized that it formalized some of the integration that was already taking place in our business.
That's really nice to hear. And of course, that's a modern way of doing business, Mervyn. It's mutually beneficial relationships with your key stakeholders.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting that going back to the 19th century, well into the 20th century, we were taught to be focused on shareholder primacy, and we were told the shareholder owns the company. Well, of course, the shareholder doesn't own the company. The shareholder is a very important stakeholder, but the company is sovereign. It's an artificial person. Slavery was abolished over 100 years ago. You cannot own a person. And but the shareholder is very important. A conglomeration of very important incorporeal rights to appoint the board, to remove the board, decide the very purpose of the business of the company, etc., etc. But this resulted in a focus on shareholder value and looking at value through a lens, a financial lens of the present value of discounted future cash flows. And we never applied our minds to how those cash flows were created. But today, as Nick has pointed out, there's an application of mind of the impacts of how the company makes its money and the impacts of the output on financially, socially and environmentally. So you've got this holistic approach, and you take that into account strategically for longevity, value creation.
But how do you, as a director, Colin, how do you deal with the trade-offs? Because when you're making business decisions, business strategy, what might be good for one capital not be so good for another capital?
It's a very difficult question, and I think sometimes you've got to decide on a trade-off. But what I'd like to, just ask Mervyn is, do you think that a lot of companies are really taking all their stakeholders into account? Because I think this is one of the areas where possibly some South African companies are still falling short.
Great question,
Yeah,
thank you, Colin.
Yes. The critical issue is that the answer is you're right. But of course, a company that doesn't identify its key stakeholders and doesn't have this ongoing relationship with their key stakeholders, and Nick has given a very good example of doing exactly that, I think you must take account of that in your decision-making process. Because if you don't take account of that, you're actually making an uninformed decision, in my view. So you take account of their needs, interests and expectations in your decision-making process and in the development strategy. So it's absolutely key that you understand what your stakeholders. Now some people say, well, then shouldn't you be reporting to your stakeholders? It's quite clear you've got a duty to account to the company and through the company to your stakeholders. And then you must make a decision in the best interest of the company. Now, in the nature of things, and when you know the needs, interests and expectations of various stakeholder groups, you can weigh up, because in making that decision, you talk about trade-offs, you're going to benefit one stakeholder against another. But you can justify it by saying this was in the best interest of the company and long-term should be in the best interest of all stakeholders.
How do you do it at Goldfields?
We actually don't see this so much as a trade-off. The way we look at this is a concept that we've started to put into all of our operations is something called shared value, where everything that we do in our business needs to have a positive impact on those around us, and that those around us in turn will have a positive impact on our business. Now let me give you an example. In Ghana, we started actually getting a local company to manufacture steel balls that we use in our process plant. We used to export them at a much higher cost from China. So what have we done? We've actually reduced the cost of inputs into our business, and we've created jobs for people around our mining operation. So it's a win-win. And those kind of relationships are self-sustaining. Once you create them, they will just continue and mushroom. So if we can embrace the concept of shared value more, then I think we don't have to think of trade-offs. We can actually think of win-win.
Are we moving into a world of shared value, Colin?
Are we moving to?
Moving into a world of shared value,
Oh, yes,
sustainable capitalism.
yes, very definitely.
At last.
At last.
Well, hopefully it's not too late for the natural environment, but want to get on to how you link strategy and risks. Do companies in South Africa do it well in the integrated report? It's said that some are not making that essential link between strategy and risk.
Well, Lee, one starts from a premise. You can't develop a strategy which is an uncontrolled strategy. So you've got to have controls for your strategy. And there's a huge governance debate. Should your CA, your head of internal audit, be sitting in the discussion of senior management and development strategy? Well, he or she shouldn't take part in the development strategy, but he or she should be present to say to management, that's fine, you want to develop this strategy, but I'm telling you, I haven't got the resource to control it, or I haven't got controls of it. So from inception, the CAE is informed, management is informed. Because one of the critical issues today is that Nick, for example, and his board in doing an integrated report, the more assured the facts are from which they're taking the material issues of putting an integrated report, the better it is. And what is happening around the world is the internal auditor is becoming more and more professional and more critical in modern governance. So much so that in certain jurisdictions they're calling independent internal assurer. So that if the three of us are directors of a company, we can say, well, we've got this fact, but it's been assured by our independent internal assurer, who's been appointed by the audit committee, reports to the chairman of the audit committee, has got an open door policy to the chairman of the board. So his or her independence is bolstered and absolutely assured. Because very difficult, and I'm not talking in my individual capacity, not as chairman of the IRC, to develop assurance of Goldfield telling its story. I think you can develop
on the
assurance on a
integrated
limited or
reports, yeah.
reasonable basis on how they did it and how they got there. You know, but
So-
to assure telling a story is a questionable issue.
But it is all disclosed in the integrated report. But how concerned are you as a non-exec about linking risk to strategy in the integrated report and in the boardroom?
Well, I think that these days, I mean, first of all, I think most investors want to have a very clear view of what your strategy is. And equally well, I think in your integrated report, it's very important to disclose major risks and how you're actually dealing with them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think again, these days investors want to know, you know, what the major risks are facing an organization and how you're mitigating those risks. So I think all of that must come out in your integrated report.
Part of setting strategy and strategic objectives is fostering innovation. So looking for new ideas and fostering innovation not only in the boardroom but in the company. So how important is innovation to you and how do you foster innovation?
Well, innovation is critical because the industry that we're in will be fundamentally different in the future. And if you want to still be in the industry, you'll need to innovate. And we've started talking about mechanization, for example, in the South African industry, mining industry. And in fact, I think the debate is going to move to automation in the not too distant future. And so how are we positioning our business to deal with that? And what are all the risks? There's an impact on jobs, for example, which is a key issue in our own country here. And so that all has to feed back into the strategy, it has to feed back into the business model and into the risks. So you keep on interlinking all of these issues, and every year they're going to be different as the external environment demands us to change and transform the company to ever-changing requirements.
Yeah, so resilience to the business model and ongoing finessing of strategy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for watching. If you have a question which you'd like our expert panel to answer, please send us an email on the address on your screen now. We'll see you next week.
Now is the time for change. Doing business in the 21st century was proudly brought to you by Nkonki, the external and internal audit assurance providers. Log on to Nkonki.com to find